So in this module, looking at organisation, we're going to look at aspects of technology in terms of their impact on the quality organisation and also the QMS more broadly. Now, to dive in, there's been a lot of discussion over recent years in terms of are we living in a very specific technological age in terms of how it compares with previous generations. And there's this concept that's been termed Industry 4.0. You may have heard of it. So in this slide, I'll just explore where this concept comes from in terms of and what it means. Now, essentially, the first industrial revolution in the sort of 1800s really was driven by one invention, the steam engine, that generated obviously the whole of the mechanization of industry in terms of the production of steel and the railways and cotton spinning, etc., and during the sort of Victorian age. That really led on to what was termed the second industrial revolution, which was really driven by electrification of society and really the electrification of factories. And then this led to what was termed the third industrial revolution, which was really driven by the invention of the microprocessors, so all of the internet and all of the technology in terms of computers and PCs, etc., that drive parts of society and obviously drive industry was termed sort of a third industrial revolution. And this has led to the concept that actually we're actually living in a fourth industrial age, which is really driven by the understanding that we are in a world where there's massive amounts of information and data, and this ability of organizations and industries to actually to harness and tap that data using very often aspects of artificial intelligence really sort of has led to the idea that we're living in a very specific technological age that's actually very different from previous generations. So Industry 4.0 was actually identified as a concept by the German government in 2013, and it manifests itself as basically the use of large amounts of data, large data sets, very often mined in real time in terms of exploiting that data, very often using artificial intelligence to actually derive value from that data and support manufacturing's ability to deliver value to the end customers in a more effective and efficient manner. And very often the concept of Industry 4.0 is very often supported by vendors who want to sell you applications very much aligned with the concept. So the next couple of slides really just an exploration in terms of, are we really living in a different technological age, or is this more just a very clever way of presenting the data around us and the environment we live in, and it's not really a new concept in terms of the way that manufacturing is existing today compared with previous generations. Now, there are a number of counter-arguments that we're not living in the very special fourth industrial age. One of the counter-arguments is that in previous ages, we're very often that age was spawned by a single technology that created a whole new way of operating, and very often completely new business models. So if you think of the steam age, obviously the steam engine propelled the whole of that concept in terms of the industrial revolution, and obviously electrification and obviously microprocessors. The question really is, are we living in a technological age which is there is one technology that's actually driving that movement forward, and that's up for debate in terms of, in many respects, a lot of the technology we see around us is very often an extension of the microprocessing environment, and the internet is very much so. So you could question whether we are living in a fourth industrial age actually spawned by a single technology. And very often when you're in the midst of a technological age, very often it's very difficult to understand where you are other than through hindsight. And obviously the individuals who lived within the Industrial Revolution didn't say, oh, we're living in the Industrial Revolution. That became apparent many years later when you look back in time in terms of how technology and scientific advances propelled industrialization in that age. And it's very often difficult when you're in the midst of this change to actually really understand whether you are actually in a different environment. So there's a lot of counter arguments that actually this is all a bit of smoke and mirrors, and we don't actually live in this strange new time at all. Now, this has spawned basically a follow-on from the concept of Industry 4.0 in terms of Quality 4.0. And again, it's manifests itself in terms of the use of artificial intelligence and very often deep deeper statistical analysis of data sets, again in real time, using that rich data sets to provide value and information that can be used to derive value for the end customer. And really, as a concept, it's got a degree of traction within the quality community. It is a concept supported by the American Society for Quality, and there are many articles on the internet in terms of the whole concept of Quality 4.0 as a different way of actually approaching quality and quality management today. Now, what can't be argued against is obviously the impact of technology on jobs throughout history. Obviously from the Industrial Revolution and even prior to that, technology always has had a large impact in terms of how people do their jobs and what those jobs are and where those jobs actually sit within society. And generally, over time, what's happened is, if you look at the pyramid in the middle, you've got a period of, at the bottom of the pyramid, you've got very non-skilled jobs, and in the center of the pyramid, you've got semi-skilled jobs, and then at the peak, you've got very highly skilled jobs. The impact of technology over time has generally started to erode that pyramid at the base in terms of, aspects of jobs that are very physical in terms of packing and shipping, and anything that can be mechanized very often has been replaced by robotics and mechanization. So basically that base of the pyramid over time through technology being eroded. The intermediate of the pyramid in terms of the semi-skilled jobs, where you need a degree of analysis and decision making against specifications. They are vulnerable to the advent of technology, and certainly the movement of AI in that direction in terms of making those decisions against predefined specifications. There's been a large degree of sort of movement in that area in terms of some of those semi-skilled jobs are in danger of being replaced by more automated approaches, using obviously artificial intelligence to drive that approach. But essentially, the top of the pyramid, the very highly skilled jobs in terms of that involve a lot of the human aspects in terms of society, are more protected in terms of the advance of technology. So things where you need innovation, you need ideas, you need judgments based on feelings and emotions. Those human aspects of jobs, those highly skilled aspects of jobs, tend to be more protected in terms of the advance of technology. And very often within the quality environment and quality management, very often it's those jobs within the quality profession that are often based on judgment and feelings and innovation and the creation of ideas. So there are aspects of jobs within the QMS and quality organisations which will be more protected against technology, but conversely, down through the pyramid, there are aspects that historically that have been the remit of individuals and now becoming more automated and processed through technology and robotics, and we'll come on to that in terms of the next slide. But generally, technology, as it advances, it began to eat up through that pyramid, and then it's debatable whether it will consume the whole pyramid completely and replace humans completely. And in many aspects, is obviously one for a debate and an argument. So if you look at the impact of artificial intelligence on the quality professional, so on this slide, on the left-hand side, you've got different aspects of the quality system. So you've got quality, customer feedback, QSMR, internal audit, design controls. And then across the slide, you've got very aspects, a number of aspects of whether artificial intelligence will either replace that aspect or augment it in terms of supplementing it, or really are there areas within that QSMR area of the QMS that's quite resistant to artificial intelligence. So I think in terms of customer feedback, you can see artificial intelligence replacing some of the basic data analysis. You can certainly see it augmenting in terms of complaint trending in real time and seeing patterns in data, especially with qualitative data in terms of interrogating some of those customer complaints. So there's certainly aspects of AI that will actually help understand that rich data far better. But there are also aspects of customer feedback that's probably resistant to artificial intelligence in terms of, your field action strategy and communications, how you manage different individuals within different stakeholders within the business doing any sort of field action or recall. So basically, artificial intelligence will tend to move some of the basic data analysis, off the table, and will help with some of the more complex stuff. But there are aspects of human behaviour that it probably is more resistant to in terms of its ability to replace human endeavour. And likewise in QSMR, data presentation and graphing, that's generally being replaced by artificial intelligence. But obviously some other aspects where you analyze data more richly, obviously AI can augment that. But when it comes down to general strategic decisions on risk and benefit and resource allocation, they are very often linked with emotion, and they're very often human endeavors, so they're quite resistant to AI. The next area is internal audit. So obviously, artificial intelligence is very able to generate reports and do audit planning and all of that good stuff. It will also allow you to see where you are in terms of compliance with your procedures versus the regulations. So we're at a stage now where you could just feed your documentation within certain artificial intelligence, programs, and basically say, based on all of this data, are you in compliance with these standards or regulations? And it will basically do a read through and tell you the aspects where you are in compliance with the standards and regulations, and areas that you're weaker. This obviously is far quicker than doing a human internal audit against the procedures and versus the standards, but that's probably the direction we're going in terms of artificial intelligence, helping individuals understand where their compliance gaps are. One thing you are resistant to in terms of internal audit is whether you're compliant versus reality of the actuality of executing that procedure in the real world. So artificial intelligence won't help you, based on the documentation, work out whether you're actually executing those procedures adequately or not. It won't help you in that respect, in terms that will require a human to interview and obviously view and sort of audit the procedure in reality on the shop floor and in the production environment. And then finally, design controls. Obviously, some of the aspects of design history files, in terms of their physical construction as files, have been replaced by artificial intelligence, and then now many organizations have DHFs that are actually virtual in terms of their electronic. And obviously AI will help you augment your documentation in terms of what's needed for regulatory submissions, and obviously how you manage that data and what the data gaps are. But AI probably won't help you in terms of helping you determine which new markets you need to go in, what your sort of product development life cycle should be, and what are the sort of regulatory approval strategies. So in this side, really, AI will start to impact, and has started to influence the way that quality professionals act. And some areas will be replaced with time, and some areas will be supplemented by the ability of AI to help quality professionals execute their job. But there are also aspects of AI that simply can't replace some of the human judgment that is required to actually execute a quality role within an organization, and within a functioning, living, breathing QSM. So in terms of the impact of quality performance 4.0, so whilst the impact of information technology and AI has huge potential to impact the quality system, there's probably a couple of questions you as a leader need to ask, in terms of when you're sort of bombarded by the sheer range of information that's actually telling you you're in this brand new environment. The first one really is, will the application of these approaches really help my customers, in terms of my customers of the quality system? That's probably your first question you need to answer. This is all great, and this is all bells and whistles and very, very, very shiny and new, but will it actually benefit the customers that my quality system is serving? And the second question related to that: what are the benefits when applying those approaches? How much benefit will I get versus the cost of actually of implementing those advances in technology, in terms of the resources that are available to me? So, will it help me in terms of my customer, my ability to deliver customer value, and actually how much cost will it incur in terms of if I want to go in that direction? So aside from the sort of philosophical discussions about quality 4.0, any technology, you as a leader have got to answer really these two questions, in terms of will it do the good that I want it to do, and at what cost to the organization in terms of resources and time and effort. So essentially, technology within the framework of the QSM and quality organisations, really you need to position it from a position of you really need to apply the technology only when it improves your ability to meet a customer's expectations. You shouldn't do it just because it's the latest fad or the latest offering in the marketplace and everybody else is doing it. Very importantly, technology is only a tool to help deliver that value. It can do it very well and it can give you a real advantage, but really it's only a tool to deliver that value. And basically, certainly organisations should be beginning to use electronic QMS systems to error-proof and hardwire approaches and gain efficiencies and allow data across the different sites. So this isn't a sort of a I'm not questioning the movement towards electronic systems. That this is the way forward. So the paper-based era is over, and basically you need to get on board with the technology that's in the 21st century. But again, you should use it with the caveat that it should actually improve your ability to meet your customers' expectations, and it is a tool for delivering on that commitment rather than it's just used for its own sake. So this slide really sort of covers, some summary in terms of where we're going with it, with the QMS in terms of the different aspects of the organization. So we talked about people, we talked about process, and then we're covering technology within this environment. So really, in terms of technology, we're talking about automation, end-to-end data. A very customer-centric application of technology is very, very important. And obviously, in the previous sessions, we talked about process simplicity. We talked about looking at the process before you apply it. We talked about who owns the processes, and we talked about people in a previous session in terms of the skills you require and whether they need more analytical or reflective sort of competencies to sort of understand, how they use information to best effect in terms of not coming to a predefined conclusion and actually being more reflective in terms of the ability to understand the environments that are very complex. And really sort of, the QMS sits within an overlap of those three areas. Your organization is made up of people, obviously executing processes, using technology, and basically your QMS as an entity is actually the intersection of all of those three areas. And what encompasses all of those areas, and we'll come onto it a number of times in this module, is the importance of training and improvement. And basically that's a concept that's very important in terms of how you improve and develop your people, how you improve and develop your processes, and obviously how you leverage technology to best effect to meet your customer needs. So in this next slide, we'll step through the different maturity model and stages of the maturity model, and just give sort of summaries of organisations that sit in the different levels in terms of the maturity spectrum. So really starting at the baseline in terms of an organisation that's sitting in unaware in terms of their ability to leverage technology. So really, obviously, an organisation at this level is very poor at doing so, and very often the systems are very paper-based. Very often there are electronic systems for the management of documents, but generally instructions are described in procedures and they're mainly in paper. And an organisation at this level very often has data siloed in different electronic applications, paper records, spreadsheets. So the information is very often dispersed throughout the organisation, and very often when it moves from paper to electronic, there's very often there's potential for transcription errors and that data to become corrupted. And very often electronic applications don't meet the user needs of the individual. They're not designed for the user needs in terms of how they're actually developed. And really, there's very often an organisation that's sitting at this level is very often limited capability to really understand the information and data that's available, and really exploit that data to make better decisions. And very often there's a lack of awareness and understanding around how technology can be improved, how it can be used to improve business process and create efficiencies. And really, sort of individuals and departments are really not driving this demand for sort of technology solutions. They're more sort of passengers in the whole journey, and very often there's an over reliance on legacy systems, and basically individuals use legacy systems because that's the way they've always done it. So basically that comes with a degree of stagnation of the organization with respect to how technology is used. And very often there'll be lack of technical skills or knowledge with the organization in terms of what's out there, and also reluctance to adopt new technologies. And again, obviously, to progress, the organization needs to understand that technology can be used and should be used to leverage better ways of delivering value to the customer. So essentially, to move up from this base level up through into the next level, really, to start the organizations to understand what systems they have, which systems are paper based, which systems are electronic, and really sort of start gaining a voice of the customer for moving these processes from paper to electronic applications, in terms of what are the user requirements for this journey, in terms of what are the expectations of the customer, and if something is going to be moved from a paper to a glass system. And begin to invest in the capability to exploit data in terms of a better understanding of data. So a company moving onto Aware will begin to understand that even though their leverage of technology is very poor, and very often they have paper-based systems, they're beginning to understand there is actually a real use and value and power of technology to help the organization deliver on customer needs. And the organization Aware is beginning to leverage technology to be more effective and efficient, and beginning to sort of move forward. And even though the data is still siloed across different applications and paper records and files and spreadsheets, the organization is beginning to become aware of this deficiency and the need to better connect those systems together. Very often, an organisation at this stage will begin to understand the compliance risk of having these different systems, and the potential for transcription errors, and is beginning to error-proof through technology this connection between different electronic databases, and how data is moved through the organisation. So really, an organisation at this level is beginning to be aware of where the gaps are, and beginning to understand where technology can help in terms of an opportunity to improve the ability of the quality system to deliver to the end customer, and obviously the other customers of the QMS we covered. And a company learning to move from Aware to a learning really needs to start building a roadmap of where technology can help, where it's needed, and such like, and really sort of begin to articulate the improvements through technology that are coming, not just in the short term, but in the longer term. And we'll come on to that in a later session on how you build your transformation map, and really sort of begin to invest in how you mine data and understand data in its many forms, in terms of better serving customer needs. So an organisation that's sitting at learning is becoming quite effective in terms of how it leverages technology. There's clear evidence that technology is driving really good decision making that's benefiting the customer. Many processes may still be paper based, but there's a clear plan of attack in terms of how that's going to be moved into electronic systems going forward. And there's an understanding that these will be modernized, the legacy systems will be modernized during the execution of this roadmap. And very often leadership consistently messages that change is coming, and it will involve the organization, and is helping the organization sort of move forward. And there's also clear evidence of moving towards a more integrated EQMS system, obviously helping individuals execute their jobs. And even in the design of these electronic systems, there's a company at Learning is really involved in the organisation in terms of the end user needs, in terms of the design, and whether those applications are actually meeting their needs for execution on a daily basis. And very often, a company at Learning the IT is really linked into the process in terms of helping deliver that solution, but not necessarily delivering in terms of the customer requirements, but really enabling that technological flow through doing the implementation stages. And process flow is hardwired in the organization in terms of how data is moved through the organization, and it's becoming less siloed, and it's becoming more connected. And in respect to this data, the organization is becoming really quite good at analysing and exploiting it, and turning that data into information and eventually wisdom that actually drives proper decision making. And really, an organisation in Learning is beginning to use technology in ways that it hadn't sort of expected to sort of deliver value and outcomes for its customers. So to move on to mastery, really, an organisation at learning really is to continue to invest in executing their sort of their technology roadmap, and really explore ways that technology can better allow the QMS to fulfil the customer needs, and really sort of understand that the data is key to really important decision making, and beginning to invest in ways on how that data can actually be turned into information, wisdom, and ideally, obviously, action to benefit the end customers. And an organisation sitting at mastery really is very, very good at sort of analysing data, handling data, moving data through, and turning that data into adequate decisions. And in terms of moving from mastery, really, an organisation at mastery really is continually exploring creative ways to leverage technology to allow the QMS to deliver the value needed for all of its customers. So really, an organisation at mastery, the story isn't over. It's continually refreshing itself as technology and new technology hits the market in terms of its availability to help the organisation deliver value. So really, this is the summary in terms of technology. Is basically harness the power of technology when appropriate. So don't be driven by you need to have all the latest shiny applications that everybody else has got. Really, your position and your reference point should always be the customer in terms of the use of technology to help the customer. And the other, that's the final customer, and obviously the other customers of the quality system. So in this section, we've had a really quick potted version of where technology is beginning to impact the quality system and quality organisations, and it will continue to. It has, and it will continue to do so. So your job as the leader is to really sort of to mix and match and pick where technology can help versus technology that's not necessarily helping the end user, and really those are the key decisions you have to make. So that really brings us on into the next stage of this module, where we're going to talk about sort of bringing all these aspects of people, process, and technology together in terms of building your transformational roadmap in terms of those different aspects, and in terms of what are you going to do now, what are you going to do in the next 6 months, year, and obviously what do you expect is needed to deliver an organisation that's going to meet the requirements for sort of the medium and longer term future in terms of 5 to 10 years down the line. So we'll cover that section in the next module. So join me there for bringing these three areas together under one sort of strategy to build your transformational map.